name's Ahmed Latif. I'm a local GP and clinical lead for long-term conditions at Oxfordshire Clinical Commissioning Group. I'm here today to encourage you to get active, stay healthy. We know that physical exercise is good for your mental and physical health. For patients with pulmonary conditions, so problems with their airways, we know that anything you can do will help your breathing in the long run. You should try and be as active as you can. And it may not be that you want to go to the gym, but anything you can manage, including around the house, that will help your breathing and we know will improve your condition in the long run. So stay active, stay moving and stay healthy.
Okay. Hello, my name's Chris. I'm one of the physiotherapists in the Pulmonary Rehab team in Oxford, and welcome to the Generation Games Pulmonary Rehab video. Francis is going to take you through some exercises to help get you stronger and help you with your breathing. And those of you that have done pulmonary rehab before will know that it's important to be exercising because it helps make everything a bit easier, helps improve your breathing. And the benefits that you would have got from your course would last for about 6 months before they start to diminish back to where they were if you don't carry on exercising. If you haven't done pulmonary rehab before, these exercises are a really good first step to get you up and going. Don't worry if you can't do everything. Have a go, have a rest if you need to. You can always pause and go back if you want to. Ultimately, go and have some fun with these exercises and take that first step of trying to do something to benefit yourself.
Hello, I'm Francis. I'm one of the instructors for Generation Games UK. And today I'm going to take you through one of our Breathe Better classes where you have a chance to challenge your lungs to help them become a little more efficient. If you have a lung condition, then you've probably got medications for it, usually inhalers, sometimes tablets. So please, before you start the class, make sure you've taken anything that you should take. And if you have a blue or an emergency inhaler to take if you get really short of breath, and make sure you've got that by, just in case you need it. Now, I've got a couple of props here you may want to use if you're feeling really energetic. We always say you can use a can of soup or a can of beans to add weight or load. I also like to use a milk bottle, and I can put as much water in there as I like. So I can make that into a 1 kilo weight if I wish to. Just make sure you put the lid on firmly if that's what you're doing. Okay, so those are some options to make it harder. Don't feel you have to. I'm just introducing them now so you've got somewhere to go to when you get really good at this. Okay? So let's get going. Just start marching on the spot. Now, if you need to be seated, you can march seated in a chair. Preferably something like a dining room chair, because that will give you more support than an armchair, obviously. Now we're going to warm up. We're going to get your body moving a little bit. We don't want anything to be hard work. We want you to be aware of your breathing all the time. Okay? So just gentle marching, getting the circulation going. And then I can take this into a bit of a side tap out to the sides. And if you're not used to this, you might find your bottom muscles starting to ache quite quickly. Okay, so we're keeping it fairly gentle. And I want you to be aware of your breathing. If you find you're starting to catch your breath, then slow it down again. Try not to stop, but you can just come back to a gentle march. Let your breath recover. And then push it a little bit more if it's right for you. Don't feel you have to, though. I'd rather you do 2 minutes and have a rest, and then tomorrow do 2.5 minutes, and so on, than push yourself too hard. So from the side tap and back to the marching, we're going to a toe tap, touching the toe in front. All very easy at the moment, nothing complicated. I can't do complicated exercises. But you may feel that your breathing is deepening. And just be aware to make sure you breathe out. I know often you feel you're catching your breath and going, and you just need to let it out again. So conscious blow out if you need to. You can take the taps out to the side ever so slightly. Again, it'll start working your bottom muscles a little bit more. And then I'm going to come back to the front. And this time, instead of my toe touching down, I'm going to push the heel down, what we call a heel dig. And what you'll find is this makes your supporting leg work a bit harder because you have to bend the knee and the hip a little bit more to do it. Again, if you want to make it harder, you go deeper, just so that these big thigh muscles work harder. So hopefully you're feeling your breath's getting a little more challenged. Say if it's too hard, come back to the marching, but try and keep it going. Okay, and I'm going to stop the feet just for a moment and just swing round. Trying to loosen your waist up and loosen the tight muscles that go between your ribs. If you're not used to breathing deeply, these muscles, like any other muscles, can end up tight. So this gentle rotation, swinging it round, will encourage them to move and loosen up again. Okay, and back to the marching. If you're not sure, you can always come back to marching. But now I'm going to make it a little bit harder. It'll be slower, but I'm going to lift the knees higher. Again, making the big muscles ask for more oxygen. All of the exercises we're doing are to ask for more oxygen. And that way we gradually get your lungs fitter. But more than that, your blood becomes better at carrying oxygen. Your heart becomes better at pumping the blood around. And your muscles become better at using the oxygen. So even if your lungs are damaged and you can't get them much fitter, much healthier, what you can do is make all your other systems more efficient. Okay, and I'm coming back to the marching. And then come to a halt, and I'm just going to press and stretch one way and then the other. And again, if your shoulders are stiff, just do what you can. But this helps stretch those muscles between your ribs again. And it gets your shoulders moving, because sometimes the shoulder muscles help with breathing and become very tight as a result. Okay, and the last one I'm going to do is take the arm up and go over to the side as far as I can, just one that way and one the other. Okay, now if that's enough for you, cut through to the stretches at the end, do them, and that's it for today. Other than that, let's keep going. So I'm marching, and now I'm getting the arms moving more. So we're going to increase the asking for oxygen. The more muscles that are working, the more oxygen is needed. Feel your breathing. Again, if it's too tough, stop the arms again. Make the legs smaller. If you can, keep it going. So I'm going to repeat a lot of the leg movements we've been doing, but we'll add some arms into them. So we can do the marching, we can swing the arms. From there we went into the side taps. So tap to the side. Okay, and then you can add some arms. Don't have to coordinate with me, just keep moving. If you find your legs going one way, your arms are going the other, that's fine, as long as you feel balanced. So I don't do complicated moves. I leave those to the aerobics teachers that are really good with their choreography. I'm not. And come back to the marching. And into the toe taps. And we add some arms. And as we did before, you can take the legs a bit wider. If that throws you off balance, don't feel you have to add it. Feel what's going on with your breathing. Make sure you're not starting to hold your breath. Can help to think of a big blowout. Now, I'm talking while I'm exercising, but you can probably hear that I'm puffing a little bit. Okay, and I'm coming back to the marching before I go into the heel digs. So again, any time this is feeling like hard work, too hard work, if you feel like you couldn't talk at all, calm it down a bit. And take the arms out. You can make the move smaller or just come back to the marching. Okay, let's try the trunk rotations again. See if it's a bit looser. Come to the halt and sway. You may find you can go round a little bit easily. You may find things creak a bit more. Perhaps they're starting to move when they hadn't. Okay, and back to marching. Right, let's put something a bit different in now. Do heel flicks, which is taking your foot up behind you. Imagine trying to kick your bottom. Okay, I'm going to turn sideways on so you can see it. And I'll go right round in the circle so you can see what's going on. And again, I'll add some arms. But if that's too much for you, just work on the heel flicks. Okay, and now I've got another one, new one for you. We're just about getting to the toughest bit of the exercises. So come back to the marching, give yourself a moment. Check you're happy with your breathing. Make sure you're not getting tight up here. Let it all come down. And then we're going to have a go at can-cans. So let's just stop a moment and kick. And kick. Once you've got it going, you can pick the speed up again. Okay, and again, I'll go round in the circle so you can see it. So it's lift the leg, kick from the knee. And then, of course, because it's the can-can, you have to have your flouncy skirts on. So you can have as many layers of lace and frills as you like, but do your can-can. And take the hands out. And back to the marching. Now I'm going to turn sideways on to start this next one. It's a tap back. And you're going to tap back and change legs. Sort of like going into a lunge. Again, once you've got the feel, it can take a while to get your balance, so don't push it too much. But once you feel happy with it, you can pick up the speed, and you can add some arms again. And take the arms out. You can probably feel how much your legs work on that one, particularly if you push the heel down behind you a lot. It's a big calf stretch there. And back to marching. So we're going to calm it down a bit now. So we'll take the arms out of it. We want your heart rate to come back down a bit. We want your breathing to become more easy. A few little toe taps. Just again feel it's calming down. You've done all the hard work now. And back to marching. And a little side tap. So just want a couple of minutes of cooling things down, calming it down, rather than stopping in a hurry. And then we'll try a few stretches. Just to help your muscles rebalance. And it helps improve how they function, so it'll help them get the oxygen around the muscle fibers where you need it. And last bit of marching. And here, I'm actually not even lifting my feet completely, it's just little heel lifts, just reducing the amount of movement there. So if you found this easy, by all means do bigger steps, do bigger moves, use the weights. But if, like a lot of people that are going to be using this, you found it really hard work, pace yourself. Don't feel you have to do it all. That's not what it's about. If you can do a couple of minutes and then do the stretches and add a little bit more, but do the stretches again each time, then you'll feel that you can make progress and hopefully feel better in yourself, improve your capabilities. Let's come to a halt. Okay, so often, if you have breathing issues, you get very tight in the chest, you can end up curled up. And curling up doesn't let you breathe properly anyway, so we want to stretch your chest muscles. So I'm going to turn sideways on. If you can, hold your hands together behind your back and lift them away. Now, some people won't be able to reach, or some people will find it really uncomfortable. But keep your shoulders down, lift away, and you should get a stretch happening through your chest. If that works for you, fine. If you can't really get hold, you can hold a towel or something there with each hand, or you can try this. Put your hands, not on your bottom, on that bit, so the heels of your hands are on the bony bit, and just try and bring your elbows together. And that will give you a stretch across your chest as well. So whichever one you find works best for you. And we hold a stretch for 5, maybe 6 breaths. So if you've been doing it right from the word go, we've probably done the 6 breaths by now. I've probably got another breath to do, but I'll make it up later. Okay, so chest stretch we've done. Shoulder rolls, again, often tension here. If you just roll the shoulders and think of rolling them forwards and round and down. And think of your shoulder blades going a little further down towards your waist each time, so you're stretching out any tight areas in your neck. Okay, you can go the other way as well. But the best way, most people feel, that's the instinctive way to go. Up at the front, round, and down into your back pockets. Okay, right. We're going to sit down now, just on the edge of a seat, so that we can stretch the muscles in the legs. You can do them standing up, but seated, you're less likely to fall over. I am anyway. Okay, so bear with me while I get a chair. So if you now want to sit down on a good dining chair, something like that, you can see the style of chair this is. Sit right on the edge. And you're going to keep one foot on the floor, the other leg you straighten out. Lean forwards from the hips, so it's called a hip hinge. So I'm doing that. If I do that, it doesn't work. You've got to keep the back nice and straight. If I lean forwards, then I should get a stretch in the back of the thigh. Now don't make it painful, it only has to be a very gentle stretch. And again, we're going to hold this for 5 or 6 breaths. You may feel different parts of the muscle. As one bit releases, the focus goes on to another bit, and that's fine, that's good if you can feel it. So now I'm going to change the foot position. If I bring the toes up towards me, you may want to take the heel a little bit further away, see what you feel like for yourself. But doing that, you can feel a stretch in the calf instead. Okay, some people like to hold on to the toes. That can make it too strong, but see what works for you. And again, 5 or 6 breaths. Then we just sit back up and we swap legs. So now that foot on the floor, the other leg goes straight, the foot loose. Hinge from the hips, keeping the back nice and straight. Feel the stretch in the back of your thigh. Now you can see if you were sat too far back on the chair would cut into the back of your thigh and it wouldn't work. So make sure you're on the edge. Again, 5-6 breaths, change the foot position, bring the toe up towards you. You may want to push the heel away a little and feel the stretch happening in the calf. Gently come back up. Now the next stretch is a bit of a balancing act. It's for the front of the thighs. So I'm going to come up to standing. I'm going to turn the chair around so you can see what's going on. So if I put the chair back here, now I'm going to hold on to the back of the chair, and then I can pick this foot up and just hang the foot on the edge of the chair. If I go back here, it won't work. Drop the foot onto the chair, and once you've got your balance, bring your bottom forwards, tuck it under as much as you can, and you should get a stretch down the front of your thigh. So again, look straight ahead of you, stand nice and tall, feel the stretch in the thigh, count your 5 or 6 breaths. Gently bring that foot down. Now, I can do it on the same side like this. If you need to swap sides on the chair, then do. But again, it's just the toes on the chair, because if you go back like this, you can't get the stretch. So toes on the edge, tuck your bottom under, stand nice and straight, and count your 5 or 6 breaths. And gently release the foot back down again. When you've done your 5, 6 breaths, we're finished. So, I hope you've enjoyed it. Remember, always do the stretches, even if you only do a few minutes of the exercises. It will help your legs, it will help your muscles. And thank you very much for joining us.
Hello, I'm Emma Tucker. I'm the post-COVID rehabilitation lead for Oxford Health NHS Trust. I've been seeing many patients over the last numbers of months of people suffering with long COVID and the debilitating symptoms that this can have. It's really important that even though we're suffering with these symptoms, that we continue to maintain some level of activity. One of the things that we understand about long COVID is that high intensity exercise or returning to exercise too soon can actually be detrimental. And we actually need to think a lot more about a mindful and body movement approach to recovering from this virus. So one of the important things that we concentrate is the way in which we're breathing, the way in which we flow our body. And so I'd like to introduce you to Kate, who will take you through a lovely exercise routine now. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Kate, and I'm a yoga therapist, and I'm here today to support you using mindful yoga with breathlessness. So we're going to do some very gentle, very mindful movements to support you to release tight muscles, to open up your body, and to help you to relax into your breath. So all you need is a chair and to have your shoes off. So I'm going to do this in my socks. And anything else that might make you feel comfortable. So just the main thing is not to have tight clothes on. So nice loose clothing and shoes off and just a simple chair. So sitting down in the chair to start with and sort of clearing your space. So kind of give yourself 20 minutes to do this practice, if that's okay. And I will just say that if you feel tired or breathless or you want to stop, that's absolutely fine. You're not going to miss anything. You can catch up later. You can do it tomorrow. So there's no need to exert yourself beyond what you're comfortable with. So you're sitting in your chair, and I'd just like to suggest that you take your feet a little bit wider than hip distance apart so that you create a broad base for your body. So really the key thing we're thinking about is grounding the body. So feeling the body's relationship with the earth. So I've got my shoes off, as you can see, and I'm spreading my feet down into the earth as if I was sort of pressing my feet into wet sand. So you've got that real sense of, yes, I can feel my 10 toes and both heels spreading into the earth. Those are your roots. This will help us to feel steady, grounded, safe. So starting from those lovely roots, then just think about your legs rising up from those roots, and then just pause for a moment thinking about your pelvis resting on the chair. Just feel the weight of the upper body resting in the pelvis, resting on the chair, resting on the floor. That's very steady. And you can take your hands just lightly onto your thighs and just feel for a moment the relationship between your hands and your legs. So you can feel the body from the inside out and the outside in. And just notice what that's like for a moment. Feet grounded, hands on the thighs. And then let's think about the spine. So think about the spine perhaps as the stem of a lovely flower. So rising up out of the soil. So the spine is lengthening. So the dynamic is lengthening through the spine and grounding through the lower half of the body. Just notice what that's like. Just thinking about lengthening through the spine creates space here. And you might find that you want to just sort of lightly turn your chin from side to side. What's that like? Just releasing and unwinding the neck stem a little bit as you breathe. And then coming back into the center, doing a little wriggling motions that feel nice to release tension from the shoulders. And then give away the weight of the arms and the shoulders to gravity. So, dropping the shoulders away from the ears. So we know that when we get breathless, we tend to hunch our shoulders up to our ears, which restricts our breathing. So just notice if that's you, and then soften your shoulders away from your ears. And already we feel more grounded and more spacious. Okay, so to recap, this is really important. This is our starting place and our finishing place. Grounded through the feet, feeling the sitting bones down in the chair, feeling the spine lengthening out of the pelvis, feeling the skin on the back of the skull rising up, so you get the sort of brightness in the back of the neck stem. And then the skin on the face is nice and soft. So again, sometimes without noticing it, when we're a bit anxious or tense, we tend to grip the muscles of the face. We frown and we grip the jaw. So just notice if you can soften the face. I sort of wobble my eyebrows, or move the jaw, and just notice that you can find more space and softness in the face area. And then let's drop our awareness down to the front body. So in this kind of practice, we think about the spine as being long and strong. There's the structure, and the front of the body being nice and soft. So that's why it's important not to have a tight waistband. You've got to kind of let it all hang out. So soften around the belly area, and sometimes I find it's quite nice to actually put your hands on the belly so you can notice if you're holding here. Softening here. And then let's come back to our starting position. So already feeling more grounded, more open, more relaxed, more present. And from this starting place, we can start to move gently. So let's take our arms up into the air as we inhale, and don't worry about the length of your movements and the length of your breath, because it will be different from mine. So just watch what I'm doing it and then find your own pace with it. So the inhalation is the rising of the arms, and you can feel the rib cage lifting into the sky. You can look up if that feels nice. And then as you exhale through the nostrils, if you can, which slows down and moistens the breath, let your arms go up and down like beautiful wings, just finding your own rhythm. And if it's too much to take the arms up that high, just let them go up a little bit. It doesn't have to be great big movements. This can be very, very soft. But you're releasing the muscles around the shoulders, and you're just creating space in the rib cage, which is really important if we want to create space for better breathing. So finding your rhythm, just enjoying it. Just think of yourself as a graceful bird, enjoying the sound of your breath. And then the next time, as you let your hands come down, you can release the wrists. I always think of cherry blossoms, just sort of floating down, floating down, floating down, but keeping that buoyancy through the rib cage, that openness across the chest area. So again, you can really relax this area, which can often get very tight when we're breathless. And then notice how that feels now. Coming back to the starting point, very grounded, nice and relaxed around the shoulder area. Let's take a little forward bend now. So I'm going to suggest you start by taking your elbows onto your knees. I always think of this as if you're having a sort of deep thought. You can have that sense of lengthening through the spine, so the neck stem long and bright still, very grounded through the feet. And imagine that you're breathing into the back of the lungs, so lots of space between the back ribs. And again, you might want to just look over your left shoulder and then over your right shoulder, just in time with your breathing, inhaling one way and exhaling the other way. So it's very much about you experimenting for yourself what feels nice for you. And then if you feel like it, you could come even deeper down into a deeper forward bend, like a rag doll, coming all the way over. But this might not be right for you. If it feels too much, if it's too compressing for your belly, or it just doesn't feel good, just stay halfway down. Or go all the way down and maybe sigh out through the lips and just let the head go. So kind of say yes and then no. Releasing. A little bit of traction in the low spine there. And then pressing through the feet, let's come all the way back up again. So inhaling and lifting your arms up to the sky. And then as you exhale again, release the tight wrists. Let the hands come down, but keep that buoyancy through the rib cage, that openness across the chest. And then settle. Really nice. Okay, so let's think a little bit more about the upper back. So we're kind of systematically moving through these movements. So if you think about your spine as being supple, even if it doesn't feel like that most of the time, if you feel really stiff, let's find some space and suppleness through the spine. So as you inhale, just imagine that you're lifting your sternum, this area of the chest. If you're lifting that up to the sky and squeezing your shoulder blades together. That's your inhalation. And your exhalation, you're rounding the upper back, lengthening your arms and sending the navel into the body. So you're just starting to flow the whole of the spine. And this is so nice because most of the time we get very, very tight through the spine. We feel that we've got no flow here, no space here. And I think if this practice is about anything, it's about finding space. Because when we find space in the body through these mindful movements, we find that there might be some corresponding mental space, some emotional space. And you'll hear my breathing. Nice long breaths, focusing particularly on the exhalation. So not thinking too much about how much air you can get in, but thinking about releasing long exhalation through the nose, long exhalation as you round the upper back. And then just allow the next inhalation to arise. Let's just do one more of those, really enjoying flowing the spine. Good, and as you exhale, just let the shoulders come back and down. Just give them a little wriggle. So it's really nice in between, just to sort of see how things are going. Soften, maybe even shake out the arms. So giving away the weight of the arms to gravity. Okay, so let's do a little twisting motion here. So I'm going to just take my right hand and put it over the top of my left thigh. So you may be mirroring me, so the hands might be the other way round. It doesn't matter, because I will say both. So I'm taking my right hand and putting it to the top of my left thigh. I'm still very grounded through the feet. And I'm reaching up and over with my left arm. So I'm getting that lovely opening in the intercostal muscles, the muscles between the ribs. And I'm just letting the neck stem just go off to the side, softening the eyes. So sometimes I close my eyes. That's nice, so you can sense and feel what's going on inside. Reaching over, and then when you're ready, just sweeping your hand behind, as if you're sort of clearing the way or opening a cloak. And then let's do that a few times. So taking the left hand across to the head of the right shoulder, and then as you inhale, it's a lovely sort of balletic gesture. And you're unwinding the spine. So think about this unwinding all the way through the spine, right up to the neck stem. And so let's come to the breath, inhaling as you open, and exhaling as you take the hand across to the head of the shoulder. Just do that a couple more times if you want to, if you can be bothered. Doesn't matter if you can't. And last time, inhaling. And then I'm going to take the hand to the chair. So I'm taking my hand onto the side of the chair, just something that you can hold on to, so that I can just turn a little bit more into the twist. Now relax the shoulders away from the ears. So often they get stuck up here. See if you can find space. Space between the ears and the shoulders. Space across the front of the chest. And then once you've found this form, this twisted form, this spiral shape, just come back to the breath. Invite the breath in, and then let the breath leave. So really enjoying your full inhalation and your full exhalation. Lovely. And then coming back to the center and inhaling, lifting the shoulders up to the ears, squeeze them, squeeze them, squeeze them, and then let them go back and down as you exhale. Let's do 2 more of those. So lifting the head of the shoulders up, 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 and exhaling, letting them go back and down. And you're clearing all that tight space between the shoulder blades at the back. And releasing. Very nice. So just taking that moment in between movements to sense and feel. What's going on in my body? How is my breathing? How do I feel? Let's go to the other side. So I'm taking the left hand onto the top of the right thigh, just holding on somewhere there, and reaching up and over. So that lovely lateral stretch all the way down the right side of the body. And just let the head do what it wants, release the neck. It's very permissive, this practice. Just notice what your body wants to do. Don't push it, always gentle. And then when you're ready, reaching behind. So that lovely, I always think of, I've got a big cloak on and I'm opening it and then closing it across my body. So inhaling and exhaling. Nice long exhalation. Remember to focus on that sense of letting go through the exhalation. Inhaling and long exhalation. If you cough, or if you need to catch your breath, or if you need to stop and have a drink, that's absolutely fine. Just come back when you're ready. And one more closing of the cloak across the body. And then this time as you spiral around, take hold of the chair, just as we did before. So finding that sort of anchoring through the feet, the spine unwinding, maybe checking over one shoulder and then the other, relaxing the shoulders. And then softening the eyes and just sensing and feeling the shape that you've made. How is the breathing? Releasing. Nice long exhalation. And then coming back to the center. And just take a moment again to regroup. How do I feel? How is my breathing? What's going on in my body? Really important to find those still moments in the practice. So it's not mindless, it's really mindful. You're really present all the way through. Okay, I'm going to take my left foot now slightly into the center so that I can create some stability and stick my right leg out in front. And I'm just going to kind of twirl the toes, so releasing the ankles. Sometimes they pop and click, that's fine. So just sort of feeling that. And if you're tired, just keep the heel on the floor. You can still do those movements. So rotating through the ankle joint, wriggling the toes inside your socks. Just finding that mobility. And then let's just release through the knee and into the hip. So you can inhale and lift your leg. If you're feeling flamboyant, you can really point your toes and make that quite active. And then you're going to bend the knee and draw the knee into the chest. So I'm going to show you a few ways to do this. You could just slide the foot along the floor on your inhalation, and then your exhalation, you could just slide back to the starting point. So it could be really small. You're still mobilizing the knee and the hip. If you're feeling energetic today, you could inhale and lift the leg and support the thigh. And then as you exhale, you could lift the knee into the body and really squeeze it. Sort of imagine that you're squishing your large intestine, your liver, giving your body a nice sort of squidge inside. Inhaling and exhaling, or keeping it smaller. That's fine. Just a few more times if you can be bothered. So if you can't, just sit and listen, and next time you might have more energy. Just see how it feels. One more time, inhaling and exhaling. And then let's think about the hip a little bit more. So I'm just starting to draw some circles with my right knee. And again, you can do this your way. So maybe you're feeling quite energetic and these circles are quite big, even quite wild. Or maybe they're really small and you want to keep the toe on the floor and you're just moving the knee from left to right. It's fine. What you're still doing is getting into that hip area, which can get very tight. So just doing that in your own way, mobilizing the hip. Make sure you're going in both directions. So I've just changed directions. And then when you've had enough of that, around now, I'm just going to cross my legs. Now I'm crossing at the thigh, just like I'm sitting politely somewhere. But you could also cross at the ankle. Sometimes it's too much to cross at the thigh. So if you can't cross at the thigh, don't worry about it. It doesn't matter. Cross at the ankle instead. But we've got some sort of cross shape here. We'll just ground down through that standing foot, really grounding down, just letting your hands rest on your knees. I feel very sort of proper, like I'm having tea with the Queen. And then we're just going to come over into one more lovely side stretch. So just reaching up and over. How does that feel? And then coming back to the center. And as I come back to the center, I'm going to open up a little bit. So I'm going to show you two ways to do this. Got the outer ankle on the knee, the outer part of my right ankle on the top of the left knee, and just got my hands resting there, just a bit of anchorage, a bit of weight there. And I'm just going to lean forwards a little bit as I exhale. I can feel that in the outer hip. Just see how that feels for you. And you could sway, just like a lovely tree swaying in the breeze. Exhaling as you move forwards, and then flowing back as you inhale. Exhaling, flowing forwards, and then coming back. Now, if that's too much, remember I said you could cross at the ankle. You can still get that space. You can still drop the right knee out to the side, and you can just come forwards from here. It's just a little bit easier. It's a little less tight in the hip area. So just finding your rhythm, finding the relationship between the breath and the movement. Good, one more time, and then coming back to the starting position, and wherever you were, untangle, and just come back to your steady base. So in yoga terminology, we would call this mountain pose. So it does what it says on the tin, it's a mountain, steady base, the crown of the mountain shining upwards. So finding that stability again before we go to the second side. So we can cross first of all, we lifted the leg out in front and we twirled the toes, didn't we? So just doing this on the other side. So finding some space through the ankle joint. If it's too much, remember, keep the heel on the floor. Just finding that space there. And then when you've had enough of that, just think about bending the knee and doing this in a way that feels right for you. So you could keep the foot low to the ground, staying very grounded. So just very systematically moving through these joints of the body. This is from the joint releasing series, from Pavamuktasana, which is the Sanskrit name for it. It's a very, very old tradition. Remember, if you've got more energy, or maybe today you can lift the thigh and draw the knee right into the body. So that's massaging descending colon. Inhale, lengthen, and exhale, squeeze. Remember to keep the spine nice and long as you inhale, so the temptation is to collapse. Keep the spine nice and long. One more time, inhaling, and exhale. And remember, we now move into the hip. So just finding some space in the hip socket. Breathing, marrying the breath to the movement. So it's a very integrative practice. You're drawing together the breath, the body, and the mind. And then changing direction. Maybe keeping the foot low to the ground if you want to, or a little bit higher. Make sure you just go in both directions. Good. And then when you finish that, just swing your leg over the top. Just stay there for a moment, just sort of rooting, grounding, finding anything that just needs your attention, just give it a little wriggle. And then work out whether you want to, first of all, we'll do the side stretch. So coming over into the side stretch, just for a moment, getting that length through the side body. And then as you come back, just work out what you want to do. Do you want to cross the ankle onto the knee and just get that little opening in the hip area? See how that feels? Leaning forwards, breathing, moving, swaying like a tree. Or if that's just too much, and it can be quite tight there, just drop the ankle down a little bit lower and just keep the legs, knees apart. You still get a little bit of opening in the outer hip area. So just finding your way with this. You know, some days we feel more flexible than others. I'll just go back to the slightly tougher version. It's not better, it's just slightly different. Just depends on your mobility today. And finishing that exhalation, and then coming back and untangling the legs, coming back to our steady, grounded place. Good. Okay, so the last thing here is I'm going to bring us up to standing. And this is a really great practice to do if you want to strengthen your ankles, your thighs, your buttocks. It's just really great if you want to strengthen the lower half of the body. So keeping the feet about hip distance apart, but taking the heels back. See how it feels to lift your arms into the air and just press through the feet so that your bottom slightly hovers off the chair. Oh, it's quite hard work. Keep breathing. And then taking your hands down and sit back down in the chair. Now, if lifting the arms above your head is too energetic, it can be, just bring the hands into what we call namaste. And then let's do it one more time. So taking the arms up if you want to, or if you don't want to, just bringing the hands in front of the chest, keeping the nice long spine, grounding down through the feet. And then, let's come all the way up, reaching up on an inhalation, looking up. And as you exhale, releasing the hands down, releasing the shoulder blades down over the back ribs. Roll your shoulders a couple of times. Maybe step the feet a little bit further apart and just sort of with soft knees, just do a little bit of wafting. Nice bit of wafting. Allowing the knees to be soft, the shoulders to be soft, the breath to be soft. Just noticing how the body feels after that practice. And then there's one more thing that is very, very nice to do at the end of this kind of chair practice, is to use your chair to stretch out the spine. So I'm going to hold onto the back of the chair and I'm going to walk my feet back and I'm going to take my thighs back and I'm just going to hang off the chair so that my chest is parallel to the earth. So the temptation is to slam into the backs of the knees. Just keep the knees nice and soft, really ground through the feet and just think about taking the thighs back as you drop the ears between the upper arms. So you're getting a really nice stretch through the whole of the spine. And you can bend the knees. It doesn't matter if your knees are bent. Don't worry about that. Just think about that lovely length through the spine as you take your thighs back. Sometimes I do this off the kitchen table in the morning just to stretch out the back. See how that feels for you. Breathing. Taking another lovely breath in and another lovely breath out. And then slowly walking yourself back to the chair. And just for a last moment of our practice, let's sit back down and regroup. Really important. So, coming back to where we started, I'm going to close down my eyes. Maybe you'd like to join me, closing down the eyes. Feeling the feet steady on the earth. Feeling the hands resting on the thighs. The shoulders are relaxed away from the ears. Neck stem is bright and long, but the front of the body is soft. You might notice that you feel more relaxed, more spacious. Maybe, maybe not. Some days it's more easy than others to feel present. Just feeling that steadiness of the earth underneath you as you now just pay attention for the last few moments of this practice to your breath. So sometimes we can really lose that connection with our breathing because it causes us difficulty. We've sort of lost our trust. But can we now just trust that the body knows what to do? It wants to look after us. Can you feel the rising and falling of your belly as you breathe? It's almost like a gentle lullaby. Remember that the exhalation really helps us to calm down. So focus on the exhalation as if it was a wave of breath rolling away from you out into the ocean. And then just allow the inhalation to happen quite naturally. Just allow it to arise. So just for another moment or two, just allowing those waves of breath to come towards you and to roll away from you without effort. Just being present to yourself, being steady, being here. Lovely, well done. Thank you. Hi, my name's Kate and I'm a yoga therapist, and I'm here today to guide you through some gentle, mindful movements that are aiming to support people who are recovering from COVID, so people who have still got persistent symptoms of breathlessness, fatigue, perhaps muscle ache and aches and pains. So it's very important not to exert yourself too much, but to gently find your way back into movement, very carefully and very compassionately. And that's what this practice is all about. So I'm going to start sitting on the ground. I'm actually sitting on a cushion. It's a special meditation cushion, but it could just be a couple of cushions from your sofa. And I'm sitting cross-legged, and I've got a couple of blankets to support my thighs. If that's not comfortable for you, you could do this part in a chair. That's absolutely fine. Make sure that you're definitely sitting on something so that your pelvis, if it were a bowl of water, it would be slightly tilted forward, so the water would be slightly sloshing forwards out of the pelvis. You don't want to be collapsed back onto your coccyx. So getting yourself comfortable, getting your kit, and settling down into your nest. And let's just let the hands rest lightly on the knees so that there's a bit of space in the armpits. So we want to create some space through the rib cage. And I'm going to invite you, you don't have to do this, especially the first time you watch this, you might not be able to, but I'll try and guide you with my words. But it's very nice if you can to soften or even close the eyes. So I'm going to periodically close my eyes throughout this practice so that I can drop my awareness from the busy mind down into the sensing, feeling body. So, as I said, settling down into your seat and just feeling the ground underneath you. Taking a moment to come into the practice, feeling your pelvis dropping down into the earth and your spine lifting like the stem of a beautiful flower out of the pelvis. So there's that lightness to the crown of the head. So we're coming back to our relationship with the earth and with that lovely spacious sky up above. How does that feel? So just taking a couple of moments to notice what is going on for you today. How is your body? How is your breathing? How are you feeling? When you close your eyes and you look down inside, what's it like? What's the landscape? There may be areas that feel tense or tight. Just notice. Send the breath or send your awareness to those places. And if they need moving, just give them a little move. For me, it's always the shoulders that are tight and stuck. And then when you're ready to drop back into stillness, just noticing again for another moment how the body is feeling today. And so we're going to very gently start to move. And these are very small movements. It's very important that we start to really understand the relationship between the body and the breath. So moving the body gently in circles as if you were just sort of rolling around a dinner plate-sized shape beneath you. Notice how that feels. None of this is very effortful. It's very much about coming back to the body that may not be working as you would like it to. So there's a gap there between what we want, what we think should be happening, and our actual experience. So let's just accept things as they are today. Just starting to move and breathe. Making those circles a little bit more juicy if you can. Breathing through the nostrils. You've got a soft mouth, soft jaw, soft eyes, soft belly. And then changing direction, and notice what it's like when you go in the other direction. How does that feel? Noticing any tension. Allowing the breath and the movements to find each other, to work together. And then coming back into stillness. And again, making any little movements that feel nice. Maybe taking the chin over one shoulder and then over the other shoulder. So unwinding the neck step. And then coming back to the center. So when we're breathless, when we, the medical people, the physios will call this dysfunctional breathing. It's when our breathing gets tight and stuck and held. But if we can, in this particular kind of yoga approach, we don't worry about dysfunction. We're looking for space and well-being. So we're looking for the most space, the most joy, the most pleasure, the most freedom in the body that we can find. And that's simply about letting go, actually. So I wonder if you could just bring your hands onto your body. So where the floating ribs part, there's the diaphragm, and the other hand down below. And again, if you can close your eyes, this is really nice because you can sense and feel the body breathing. So you may notice that it feels a little bit stuck here. That's okay. Just allow your belly to soften. And as you inhale, you'll feel perhaps a swelling of the belly as the ribs lift and as the diaphragm descends. Just notice if it's happening. Don't worry if it's not. And as you exhale, there's that lovely sense of letting go as the diaphragm moves up and the ribs drop and you come back to that starting position. So just feeling the gentle oscillation of your body as you breathe with your hands. So getting that feedback. How does my breathing feel today? Don't try and change anything or force anything. Just noticing, feeling your body expanding into your hands. And in a moment, we're going to do this lying down. So there's lots of opportunities to revisit this. Just feeling your body gently breathing. Notice what that's like for you. Good. And on your next inhalation, let's slide the hands up into the air. So reaching up, and you get that lovely lift through the torso. Let's interlace the fingers and take the palms up. So you're getting that, lovely bit of release through the intercostal muscles of the side body, reaching up. And then what's nice is to just do a little bit of gentle swaying. So you're releasing the lateral body. Let the neck stem flow as it wants to. Making the movements as big or as small as you wish. No forcing, no pushing, no shoving. Just coming back to the body's relationship with the earth, with the space around it, and with the breath. Most importantly, with the breath as it is. Good. And then as you come back to the center, release your wings, and we're just going to do the releasing of the wrists. Just let the hands come down gently to the lap. And this time, I wonder if you could let the backs of the hands rest on the knees. And it's slightly different. It's qualitatively different. The chest is a little bit more open now. And again, let's just turn the chin from side to side, releasing through the neck stem. Very good. Okay, so around now, your legs might be thinking, I'd like to release. So let's release them. So just letting the legs come out in front. And it's quite nice when the legs have been crossed, just to release and support the knees a little bit. So I do a little bit of rubbing and patting of the knee area, maybe massaging down to the feet, just saying hello to the legs. That's nice. And then we'll come down to the floor. So you're going to put your staff to one side. Now, I'm going to just throw this blanket over there. And I'm going to put the other one there for my head and remove the cushion, just put it slightly behind. So it's quite nice to have something to rest your head on. So clearing the space, you've got something to support your head and just finding your way down to the ground. Find your way down to the ground and let's for the moment keep the knees bent. So lying semi-supine, it's much more supportive for the low back. But just sort of get yourself comfortable. Take a few moments to really feel the body's relationship with the earth in this plane. So you might notice that you can slightly draw the tailbone down towards your feet and you can snuggle the shoulder blades down over the back ribs so you get some space across the chest. Feet are about hip distance apart and you really spread your feet into the earth. And just take the arms out to the side. So you can either have them in what we might call a goalpost position with the elbows bent and the backs of the hands on the floor, or if that's too much, just take them into a sort of T shape. And when you've got here, what's really nice is if you can close down your eyes and just start to feel your breath and your spine in relationship with each other. So these are very, very small movements, but it's really, really nice, really important thing to do. It's just called releasing the spine or undulating the spine. So as you inhale, you'll notice that there's a little gap underneath your lumbar as the pubic bone moves away from the face. And then as you exhale, you can send the navel down towards the floor and the pubic bone slightly tilts towards the face. There's a little bit of toning going on in the tummy area. But it's all very, very natural. It's just a spinal undulation. So there's an inhale and the ribcage lifts and the pubic bone moves away from the face. And as you exhale, just draw the navel down towards the floor. You can press the feet into the earth and you get that little bit of tone at the tummy as the pubic bone tilts towards the face. And so off you go with a soft jaw, with the eyes closed, just flowing the spine in time with the breath. Inhaling and exhaling. Nice long exhalations. Just allowing your rhythm to unfold. So sometimes we can get really hung up about the breathing. I wonder if we can just let go of any effort and just feel the relationship between the breath and the spine and the earth. Just a couple more times, really enjoying the tilting of the pelvis and the flowing of the spine and the free flowing breath flowing through you. One more time. And an exhalation. Good. And at the end of that exhalation, I wonder if you could bring your feet off the floor and in towards the body, holding onto your knees. And I'm going to cross my right ankle over the left and just start to do some little rocking and unwinding movements. So the ankles are crossed and I'm dropping my knees one way and the nose is going the other way. So I'm unwinding tension through the spine all the time, just giving away the weight of the shoulders. Finding your natural breath, the full inhalation and the long exhalation. So just finding your rhythm. It might be faster or slower than mine. We often find that we're moving too fast. So when you really relax, your body finds a nice slow pace that's just right for you. Good. And then let's come out of that by taking the left foot to the floor and taking the right foot to the sky. Now don't worry about having a straight leg, just hold on to the back of the right thigh and twirl the toes in the sky. So releasing through that ankle joint, see how that feels. And then pressing through the heel, just getting a little bit of length through the leg, a little bit of noise here perhaps in the hamstrings. Don't worry about it too much. And as you exhale, shall we bring the knee into the body? So there's that nice squishing of the colon and the liver. I always think of it having a nice sort of massage. And just do that a couple more times, inhaling and exhaling. And only if you feel you want to. You know, sometimes it's nice to just try something else. You could maybe on the exhalation lift the face towards your knee as if you were going to nuzzle your knee with your nose. You can do it with the head or without the head. It just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Just see what your body wants to give you today. And then release. So not too much, never too much. Just quietly assessing the situation. How do things feel? And then sliding the left leg away. So you're sending that left foot away and making it active. So pressing the thigh bone down into the earth, extending through the heel. And just for a moment, let's open the legs like a pair of scissors. Just staying here for a moment. Maybe you take the hands higher or lower. It doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter if the knee is bent. Relax the shoulders. Just be here and breathe. And then when you're ready, on an exhalation, let's take that right leg down towards the floor, nice and slowly. Point the toes. You'll notice that your right leg feels longer than your left, slightly asymmetrical. Inhale and take your arms overhead. So you're making yourself super long. Reach through all 10 fingers and all 10 toes and sort of wobble on your bottom a bit. So getting that beautiful sense of spaciousness in the middle of the body. Take a nice breath in and a breath out. And then walking the feet carefully back in, bring the knees back into the chest and cross the other ankle in front, so crossing the left ankle over the right. And let's again do that lovely gentle rocking motion. So I think of this as being like a pebble just being rocked by the gentle waves at the edge of the shore where the sea meets the beach. Just being a little pebble there, just being rocked by the gentle movement of your breath. Very soothing, very calming, very grounding, this practice. So just dropping into acceptance, really. We might want to run a marathon, but not today, not today. Good. And then coming back to the centre, and this time we take the right foot to the floor, ground it, and lift the left leg up to the sky. So it's sort of unfurling up towards the sky, holding onto the back of the thigh and twirling the toes, releasing the ankle joint. Just check the shoulders are nice and relaxed. Breath finding its own natural rhythm. Pointing and flexing if that feels nice. Good. And then from here, we're going to bend the knee and bring it into the chest on an exhalation. And just do that a few more times, inhaling and lengthening. And exhaling and drawing the knee into the body. So there's a little squish there for the descending colon. And if you've got the energy, remember, just you can experiment, you can try it once. If you don't like it, you can leave it for another day. Just lifting the nose towards the knee. I like to nuzzle or even kiss my kneecap, hello knee. And then doing that maybe once or twice more. Breathing and exhaling to squish the body. So the inhalation is the extension. And the exhalation is the constriction. Good. And then as you come back, see how it might feel. As you take the head back down, slide the right leg long, and remember to ground it. So that right leg is active, pressing through the centre of the heel, and then unfurling the left leg up to the sky. Maybe twirling the toes again, relax the shoulders, just staying here for a moment, breathing in and breathing out, left side of the waist long. Don't worry too much about the leg being straight. It doesn't have to look fancy. It's how it feels. It's not the outer form, it's how it feels that's important. So we're re-establishing a safe relationship with the body and the breath, as it is today. Inhaling here, and then as you exhale, you're just slowly guiding that leg down to the floor, slowly, 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 pointing all 10 toes, reaching the arms overhead, making the body beautifully long again. And last thing, as you take the arms back out to the side here, we're just going to come back into that sort of starting position, semi-supine, but this time just take the feet a bit wider. So remember, the elbows can be bent or the arms can be straight, doesn't matter, see what feels good. Open across the chest, just check that the neck is okay. And then you're going to start to drop the knees one way and look the other way. So this is a lovely unwinding for the lateral body. And then off you go, take the knees to the left and look towards the right. And you can kind of play with this. So as you drop your knees to the right, maybe you reach through the left arm and look up towards your fingers. Get a little bit more stretch there through the side body. And just off you go, find your rhythm. Such a nice thing to do if you get an achy back. I'm going to go one more time, inhaling through the transition and exhaling as I drop the knees over and look up towards the right hand. Good. And then as I finish this off, I'm going to come all the way over and just pause for a moment in a sort of fetal position. So I'm on my left side and just sort of have a moment, just how are things going here? It's a really nice place to be. You could stay here and that could be your end, or there's one more pose I really like to do, which is just to come up carefully, bringing the head up last and turning, flipping over and coming into what's called in yoga speak child's pose. So I'm going to do this freestyle. You might want to have something underneath your bottom. And you're going to take the knees quite wide apart and come down first of all onto the forearms. See how that feels, and you can just do a little few snaky movements here, and then start to creep the hands forward. So if you've got compression in the backs of the knees, do put a cushion or something underneath your bottom. But what you're doing is working towards extending through the arms and eventually getting the forehead down to the earth. So taking your time. This is one of the most soothing postures that there is. You get that lovely traction through the back. It's really nice to, if somebody can come along and give you a back massage at the same time, that would be heaven. But just imagine that you're dropping down into the earth. Forehead lands on the earth. You could even rock a little bit from side to side. And then dropping down into the earth, relaxing the arms. So the arms aren't rigid. Breathing in, I calm my body. Breathing out, I calm my mind. And then as you slowly come up, this is the last thing, we're just going to reach up through the right arm, get that lovely openness, and then taking that hand down, we'll do the other side. Reaching up on the inhalation, looking up to the left hand, and then coming back to the starting point. And that's a really good place to finish. So I'm going to sit in what's called hero's pose to close. Might put a blanket just in between my heels and my buttocks. And just noticing the resonance of those movements in the body. So coming back into a still place, maybe making a little bowl with your hands, or having the hands resting lightly on the thighs. Moving the chin from side to side. And then dropping back into stillness. So the eyes are downcast or closed. The lower half of the body is grounding. The upper half of the body is light and long, but the chin is slightly dipped down to the chest. I'm going to close my eyes now and just close this practice by noticing again how I feel. Feeling the body breathing. If you like doing that, you could take your hands back onto the belly. It's a nice way to reconnect with the natural flow of the diaphragm. So thinking about the diaphragm as being like a jellyfish, just flowing inside your body. So hands on the body or hands on the lap, it doesn't matter what you like, what feels good for you. Returning to stillness. Just being rocked by the gentle waves of your breath. Lovely. Thank you very much.
Hello, I'm Frances. I'm one of the instructors for Generation Games UK. And today we're talking about pelvic floors. I'm sure most of you know it's the muscles that basically act as a sling at the bottom of your pelvis, and they're the ones that hopefully stop you having a leak when you sneeze or you cough or you laugh, or even worse. Okay, so lots of people end up wearing pads for a bit of protection, either because they absolutely need it or just because they're worried that they might leak. That goes for gentlemen as well as ladies. So although this is thought of as something that ladies need to think about, gents, it can happen to you too. Most commonly caused by pregnancy and childbirth, but equally if you've ended up carrying extra weight for whatever reason, that puts pressure on these muscles as well. So whether you actually have leaks at the moment or not, these are exercises that are worth doing. Morning, noon and night. I usually say do them when you're washing your hands, because if you're washing your hands several times a day, then every time you wash your hands, if you do a few pelvic floor exercises, you don't actually have to think about them any other time. So, how do you find your pelvic floor muscles? Well, I'm going to turn sideways on the chair and show you the starting position that most of my friends, most of my clients find works best for them. So I'm going to turn around sideways. My feet are going to go a little bit wider. It's not very ladylike, but it works. And I'm going to lean forwards. Because when I lean forwards, what I can do is pull up and in to make the muscles around my back passage work. And then I can release them. Now, I'm afraid there isn't much to see. It's what you feel going on. But as I'm here, I can draw the muscles up and in, right tight round the back passage, and I just try and hold them there for a second or two and let them go. Okay, now you may not find you can do this at first, but keep practicing. Once you feel that you can get the movement happening there, what you do is you sit up a bit. And then hopefully you'll feel that that tightening that you've got going on starts coming underneath and further forwards. And then eventually you should be able to sit up and take it all the way around to the front. So you really feel that if you were to sneeze or laugh, and you'd normally have a leak of urine then, you can just hold tight and not have it happen. So when you can master doing exercises sitting up like this, what you may start finding happen is you start using your bottom muscles instead of your pelvic floor. So I'm going to turn backwards on, and you get the lovely sight of my backside. So if I turn round, now if you find you're doing this, just lifting in the chair slightly and lowering, and you can feel your bottom muscles working, you're doing it wrong. In which case, come back and perhaps go back to one of these positions to make sure you've got everything happening underneath rather than behind. It really is as simple as that to find your pelvic floor, although it can take a bit of practice, particularly if yours is a bit leaky. But keep going. They reckon if you do 5 to 10 minutes over a course of a day, and you do that for 4 to 6 weeks, you should see a real difference. If you're not seeing a difference and you have an issue, you need to talk to your doctor about it. Okay? But let's try some different exercises on this. Now you can sit up and do it. We can do that pull-up that we've been doing. So just draw it all up and hold it in. And now try and lower it. You may find it just sort of drops. That's quite normal. But try and draw everything up and in again. And then try and lower it. So that's your next challenge. Try and lower it rather than having it drop. It'll come slowly, but the more you can control it, the better. So that's the next stage. Don't be in a hurry to get there. Say, keep practicing, make sure you're happy with each section before you move on to the next one. If you've now got that lowering going on, this is where we can start playing games. So now imagine that taking your pelvic floor from where it rests normally to where you can take it to is like going up 3 floors in a block of flats. You're in the lift. So start with your lift on the ground floor and lift it up to the first floor and the second and the third. Now the tricky bit, can you go down to the second floor and then to the first floor and then to the ground? Now, if you had a speed lift that went all the way down to the basement, don't worry, that's where most people start on this one. Try it again. Ground floor, up to the first floor, and the second, and the third. Try and lower to the second, and to the first, and back to the ground. Okay, so again, you can practice that as often as you feel able to. I said about washing your hands, you can also do it perhaps every time the adverts come on the telly, then you'll do I don't know how many a day if you're watching the telly a lot. Okay, you can always exercise in the adverts, whatever it is. All right, last version for you. Lots of people don't have any leakage unless they cough or sneeze or laugh, and it's that extra sudden pressure that makes them leak just a little bit of urine. Okay, so what we're going to try and do now is that lift, we're going to imagine there's a penthouse there. And we're going to go up to the 3rd floor, and then we're going to do 8 little pulses, like you were hitting that lift button 8 times, trying to get into that penthouse. Okay, so up to the 1st floor, up to the 2nd, up to the 3rd. And now push that penthouse a little hard, push. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and lower down, or collapse in a heap, more likely. Okay, let's try that penthouse one again. So ground floor up to the first, and the second, and the third. 8 pulses. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And see if you can lower back down again. And that extra little pulse, that sudden reaction, is what can help limit your leakage on the cough, the sneeze, the laugh. Okay. So those basic exercises should work for you. Say, if they don't, and your leakage is a problem, please talk to your doctor about it, see what they can do. So there is one other form of incontinence that happens to people who otherwise don't have an issue, and that's called latchkey incontinence. And if you've ever come back from the supermarket and you're getting the keys out and so on, and all of a sudden you're absolutely desperate to go to the toilet, that's what it is. You may find these exercises help. For a lot of people they do. But one of the links that they found with latchkey incontinence is that some foods irritate the bladder. Now, there's a whole host of them. There's a list of them. You can find out more from the NHS or from your doctor. So please contact them or look up on NHS Choices. That will provide you more information. Thank you.